has to be made by SAP in the backend. Okay. And this is where you find it here. We have, remember on Monday, we talked about the roadmap viewer. The roadmap viewer being a kind of guide through the implementation where you can find for each phase of the implementation a range of documentation, templates, PowerPoints and Excel, so different templates to help you to go through the implementation time. And here we find also at the very beginning, this is in the explore phase, when you prepare your fit to standard analysis, you may need to know whether something is to be customized in the SAP S4HANA Cloud system itself, or if you have to open a ticket to ask SAP to do this for you in the backend system. And for this, we have an Excel of all released SSCUIs and pre-approved expert configuration related to a scope item. And let me show this to you directly in the roadmap viewer. This is something that is important to know. So let's go to the roadmap viewer. I'm opening the roadmap viewer and it takes some seconds. You remember this. This first screen, we go to the Explore All roadmaps. We go to SAP S4HANA Cloud. And we are in the Explore phase. That's okay. We go to the Fit to Standard analysis. And let's move down. Schedule Fit to Standard workshop. I have to remember this. Yeah, it should be there. Backlog. No. Sorry. I have to check this on the slide again. I forget always analysis documentation. Now, this is my mistake. Okay. So this is not there. This is not in fit to standard analysis, but in fit to standard analysis documentation. So let's go there. And document expert configuration. Let me check if that's correct. Yes, that's correct. Here we are. And if we scroll down there, we will see an Excel here. Expert configuration and SSCUI reference XML. And if I'm opening this document, I have the chance, it is updated every quarter. In the next year, or starting this year, it will be updated semi-annually, because you remember we changed the release cycle of SAP S4HANA Cloud, and here we are. I close this part here, and very quick for you. It's a little bit difficult to see maybe for you, but I just would like to explain to you the logic of this. So let me scroll down. We have different application area. Yes, sorry, I think it's quite difficult to recognize, but just very quick. We have the application area here, the sub area, the configuration item name, the configuration ID. I don't know if you remember yesterday when we had a look at the ATP configuration, I explained quickly to you that every SSCUI has a single ID. We have the configuration step, and here in this column here, you have configuration step available in Configure Your Solution app. That means as an SSCUI, yes or no. And important here, we have the main scope item ID. So if you want to have a look what is to be configured for a specific scope item, you can select your scope item here in this column, and you will get a list of the SSCUIs related to this scope item. And if I click here, or if I use the filter for this column, and just checking what is not, which configuration item is not included in S4HANA Cloud. So no, I will find, I don't know, 3 or 5. Yeah, three items which cannot be set up, configured in the SAP S4HANA Cloud system itself, but for which you have to ask SAP to do this in the backend system. Okay, so very few of them. Okay. Here for your information, I have some slides where I explain this Excel here, where you can indeed find the corresponding SSC UIs, so configuration UIs for a specific scope item, whether you can check whether it is mandatory or not, etc. And again, this is regularly updated. So here you have the different columns explained. And here an overview about the systems in the different phases. This is something we have talked about already on Monday. You probably remember that we start an implementation project with a starter system, okay? The S system. In a minute, I will explain to you how to provision this system, how to ask SAP to provision and to give you access to these different systems. Just a reminder here. Configuration is recommended, is possible and recommended in the starter system during the explore phase. But remember, what you configure in this phase cannot be transported in the queue system. Okay, this is very important what you are doing here in the starter system, but there is no way to transport this in real life then. You have best practices available in the starter system, also in the queue system. You will have in your quality system the scope that you have agreed on activated. You will be able to configure in both systems, in the starter system as a test environment, and then in the queue system to then transport in your productive system. Okay. And during, let's say, the live phase, you will have so-called configuration sprints continuing if you want to enhance your system or whatever. A summary of what we did already on Monday. There is a question in the chat. Yeah, earlier we studied that the starter system will be provided in the prepare phase. Yes, that's correct. That's absolutely correct. But remember, the prepare phase is the phase when it's quite a short phase, or it can be longer, depends. It is the phase for the project manager to build the team, to make the project plan. And yes, from a timeline perspective, indeed, you will have your starter system available. As soon as you have signed the contract, you can request it and have it. But you start really working in this starter system in the explore phase. This is the most important phase for configuring your starter system. Okay, we are talking now about configuration. You usually do not start configuring in the prepare phase. All right. Okay, so I would like, first of all, to introduce to you the Manage Your Solution app. And then we will come back to the system topic and go through starter, quality, and productive system and see how to provision and to transport the configuration from the one to the other one system. I skip the slides here because I would like to go directly to the demo, and you see here afterwards, you will have also very detailed slides where you will be able to find how to work with this app. Okay. We will see also that we have different SSC UIs, Web SSC UI, Web GUI SSC UIs, and Fiori SSC UI. This is the same ID behind, like for all other apps. We have native Fiori and we have GUI available. Okay, so we have all the information here for you. But let's concentrate now on the demo. I'm going to the system. Here we are. And here we are already in the configuration app. Let me come back. And I will select the Manage Your Configuration app and explain to you how it works. We will configure your solution. This is an application. In the application, we will configure your solution. And again, this is a Fiori app, and at a glance, you have all the application areas available corresponding to your the scope of your system, to the scope you have chosen and activated in your system. We have different, again, yesterday I've shown you how to configure the scope of the ATP, and today I will concentrate on the organization. I will enhance our organization structure. So we have the application area here. We can select here using application area, sub-application area, country dependent, yes or no, and we have a free search field here. Remember yesterday we used it to search something around availability. Okay, so this is a search field that you can use if you don't really know where is your configuration located in. Okay, free a search. All right, and remember we went there here in supply chain available to promise to define the scope of the availability check. We had a look also on the classification for the for the cycle counting. Okay, so you can also adapt the filters. This is a normal or a standard Fiori application. If you are used to work with the IMG menu in the SAP GUI to configure your organization structure, you will see a very important, a very big difference here. And this is why I would like to create with you a new plant. The organizational structure, I think this is something we know already. Let me go very quickly to this slide here. This is a standard, a typical organization company or organizational structure. In SAP S4HANA Cloud, we have a company code, and very important for supply chain, we have plants. Plants are related to distribution channels, to purchasing organization, and are related to shipping points and storage locations. Okay, so the purpose of creating or building this organization structure is to reflect the different units you have in your company or your customer has in your company, and to build these relationships between the different units. So you create the units and you build the relationships. Okay, this is what we did already using IMG. It is now a little bit different in SAP S4HANA Cloud using an SAC UI. So I'm selecting this first line here, application area, organization, set up an organizational structure for your company. This is also considering the relations between the different units. So let's wait for the system has loaded everything we need. So here you see again, this is in the left part of the screen, we see again the search options we have for the SSC UIs. And here at the left part, on the right part of the screen, we have the corresponding selection. We have selected organization, and we see here the 24 steps are listed here. If I want to concentrate on my configuration, I can simply choose to enter the full screen, and the left part of the screen will disappear so that I will concentrate on my configuration. System is a little bit slow, so we have to be a little bit patient today. Okay, so we have here a little bit description and the different configuration steps. So how to proceed? First of all, use the first step to define your organizational structure. That means to create the units and set define the relationships between the different units. When we have a look at the actions here, again, you see the short description of the activity, the status, whether it is mandatory or not, country dependent or not, whether you need to redo something in the productive system or not, and the unique SSCUI ID. And here different actions may be interesting. You have access to help. You can add comments, maybe for explaining the reasons why you have configured this in this way and not in another way. You can also download documents or directly go to configure. And this is what I would like to do now. Okay, so first thing I noticed here, I am in the wrong country. I would like to work in the country Germany, and as you see here, I am in the US, and this is something I have to determine at the very beginning. There, I will not be able to switch the country. I have to make this configuration country-wide or on a country basis. So seeing that here, that I am in the country US, I have to go back. I have to go back to the beginning, and I will show you how to change my location. So going back, maybe I have to refresh everything so that the system is a little bit, refresh the cache. To have a system a little bit quicker, or let's take this one, refresh. Sometimes it helps because I think it's a little bit slow today. Okay, here we are. I switch between the two screens here. Sorry for this. Should be better. Okay, so I have quite a good connection. Connection is maybe a little bit slow today. Okay. Here we are, manage your solution. So I said before, my organization structure is the organization structure I have selected is the one for the US. So I have to switch to the German one because this is what I would like to change. Could, of course, have stayed in the US, but I want to show you how to change this. So system, please come on. I try here in parallel because I am not so patient. I'm afraid I have not a very strong connection for the moment. That's the point. Okay, so before I have to go to the configure your solution, let's have a look here. We are in this system here in the realize phase. So this is a system, this is a development system for our course content. And this system is in a specific phase. I will explain later how we move from one phase to the other one. And here we are in the phase where we configure for the productive adoption of our configuration. And as you see here, your configuration changes will apply to the local version USA in case we are configuring something that is local, of course. If we do global configuration, it will have, it doesn't matter. But every changes that have a local character will apply to the local version USA. And I would like to change this. To change this, I have to move there to the set local version. And check here, I have the choice. I have a Germany. If you had more versions installed in your system, you would see a list Germany and start again the app. So doing this, we are getting a little bit more familiar with the app. You see again the structure of the filter bar, the different application areas. I select the organization, click on it, go to this 2 parts screen. I will close the left part of the screen and concentrate on my organization structure. Okay, I open and go to the full screen. And here we are, and start with the organizational structure, configure. And what I would like to do is create a new plant. I'm sorry for this very slow system today. But there is no way to accelerate this. Okay, so we have clicked on the organizational structure. We are located in Germany. This is what we recognize here. And again, a screen divided in 2 parts. The organizational structure, the hierarchy is here in this left part of the screen. And if we click on this first organizational unit here, which is the company code, I can also open the node and click on another one. If I click on the company code, this is the default organization structure that is opened here. If I click on one of these organizational structure, I see the organizational structure here in the left part and can recognize the different units that are assigned to this company code, starting here with the plants. You remember we worked with these 2 plants during the week, 1010 and 1020. And I would like to create a new plant. To do this, I simply go to Add. And the idea behind creating a plant in SAP S4HANA Cloud is to copy a plant. Okay, so we take an existing plant. We have the choice between the 2 existing ones. I take the 1010. I choose 1030 and say OK. And the system is working in the background. Is first creating the plant. This may take a few minutes. We are, we know. And in the second step, the content will be activating. Okay. So the plant has been created, and now we need to wait a little bit for the activation being done. And during this period of time, you cannot make any configuration changes. Okay, so we will use this time to have a look at the chat. I have a question in the chat while the system is up. Thank you. Can you please brief about how transport request configuration and workbench are managed in the cloud? This is indeed the next topic I want to talk with you. Exactly. So we wait for the plant being created. I'm clicking on this. It is already done, maybe. Yeah, it seems to be done. So it was quick, if it's a case. Okay, it looks good. Going back to the company code. No, it's still in activation. So let's move on. Let's continue with the theory. So Again, in the slides, you will find, after these sessions, when you get the slides, you will find how to access the organizational structure, to create a plant, and so on and so on. And this is what we are doing right now. We will come back to our plant later. And let's start with system provisioning and activation. Sorry, 1 minute. Okay. Okay, so let's start with this. This is connected to your yeah, Workbench is not applicable in cloud because no coding allowed. Yes, it is correct, but you can have also changes, creating fields, for example, and you have to transport them also into the productive system. So we will go step by step. I will start with configuration, and in the second part of the live session today, we will talk about extension, and I will explain to you also how to transport this. Okay, so configuration. Configuration is made, or let's say can be made, and it is really recommended in the starter system. The starter system is the first system you will work on when you implement an SAP S4HANA Cloud system. What do you do there? You fit to standard workshops and analysis. You will start configuring your business processes. You will test your business processes. You will have a configuration concept. You will clarify your requirements on organizational structure, on chart of accounts, and then you will request at the end of the explore phase, and this can be a very long phase, and you can make a lot of configuration in your starter system at the end of this phase. So you will request your starter system. How your quality system. How do you do this? You log into the starter system. You request the quality system from the starter system. Okay, so you go into your starter system. You choose the Manage Your Solution app, the app we have seen before. I have to explain you this using slides because I have no system allowing me to go step by step through this process. So I have to use the slides for this. So again, you log into your starter system. You choose the app, Manage Your Solution. You select Configure Your Solution. And in the lower right part of, or in the lower right corner of your screen, you select Proceed to Preset. Okay, that means you are going, or you are entering the realize phase, the preset phase in terms of system provisioning, is the phase where you receive the quality system and you make a kind of activation of preset of this quality system. Okay, and this is the next step. What will happen when you have pressed this button, Proceed to Preset? Your customer must have defined a user, designated a user as an IT contact for SAP. And this IT contact will receive a queue system provisioning email. Okay. And one user, then the same or another one, depending, must be responsible for logging into this quality system and complete the quality system activation during this so-called preset phase. Okay. So the preset phase. In the preset phase, you must select the scope of the you want to implement. So how do you preset the quality system? You log into the quality system you have received. Then you navigate again to your Manage Your Solution app, and you select here okay, in the Manage Your Solution app, you select Define Your Scope, okay? Then you select your package. Enterprise management is the most recent one. You have also an enterprise management if you are in the US for public sector, if you want. You select only for the US. You select the country. Okay, the initial country, of course, because you can implement SAP S4HANA Cloud for more than one country, and then the scope items. Okay, so you recognize here the country code and the scope items, the scope item IDs. No? We've discussed already on Monday. All right. Once you have done this, you confirm this initial scope. Okay. You get a pop-up here, confirmation. Do you want to finalize the initial scope? Yes. You say okay, and that's it. You have set up, you have finished the so-called preset of your quality system. This is how it works at the very beginning. Once the system scope has been activated, once you have confirmed the activation of this system scope, you will see in your quality system a lot of additional SSC UIs available. At the very beginning, again, I cannot show you that live, but at the very beginning in your quality system, before the preset phase, you have nothing really available in your quality system. Once you have activated the scope items, so the scope, you will have a lot of SSC UIs here available. Okay, this is one of the effects of activate or of confirming the scope and of closing the preset phase. Immediately after you have completed the preset activation, you must request the productive system. Okay, immediately after you have confirmed the scope and closed the preset phase, this preset time, if you want, because we should not confuse with the phases of the implementation methodology. This is a preset phase from the perspective of the system. Okay. So once you are finished with this, you have to request the production system, because both systems must have the same base release level. That's absolutely important. So you log in, or you are in the quality system. You go to the Manage Your Solution app, configure your solution, and then in the configure your solution app, at the right lower right corner here, you see request production system, and you click on this, and the service center at SAP will be notified and will provision the productive system. Okay, and again, your IT contact, the IT contact of your customer, will receive an email with the initial access information. Okay, and the productive system is provisioned without any initial configuration. It is a completely empty system. So first, you will have to release your initial, or if you want, you will have to align both systems. Remember, in the quality system, before you have requested your production system, you have made this preset, okay, selecting the scope. And this is what you have now. Once you have access to your productive system, this is what you have to transfer to your production system. This is the first activity you have to do. And this is described in the next step. You have what we call an initial change project. What is this initial change project? This is the result of your activation. Okay, remember, of your preset activity of your activation. You have activated the scope for country, and doing this, you have, let's say, a change project. A change project is simply you have something in the system that you can transport. Okay, this is what we call a change project. This is comparable. You can compare these to the transports in the ECC systems. Okay. And in this case, again, the initial project is the initial scope. And this initial scope, or selecting this initial scope, has activated different SSE UIs you have to transfer into your productive system. And that's what you are doing now. Again, the next step. Before you can use your productive system and continue configuring, you have to release and transport this initial change project. You do this from the quality system. Manage your solution, configure your solution, and you see what we have seen before in real life, a list of SSE UIs, of items if you want, and you have to select all of them. They correspond to your activated scope. You have to select all of them, okay, to set the status confirmed to all of these configuration items, and proceed to deploy means transport these items to, or the scope, if you want, to your productive system. Okay, here in the left, in the lower right corner, you have the proceed to deploy, and this is this project. Then this content is queued for transport. All right. So these are the first steps, and then in the productive system, you may have some rework to be done. You can select. You have, we have seen before in this app, configure your solution, or manage your solution, configure your solution. You have, for all the configuration items here, the possibility to select redo in P system, productive system, yes or no. So you can select all the items you have to rework. These are items generally related to master data. And that's it for the moment, for the very beginning. Then you can start configuring and transporting. How do you do that? You go back to your quality system. And once you have transported your first scope, or your initial change project, you have to create a new change project. So you must imagine the idea of transport, from ECC has changed a little bit. Here in SAP S4HANA Cloud, you work in so-called sprints, okay? So you do a configuration, you make a configuration bundle we call change project, you transport it. You create a new project, you transport it. You create a new one and you transport it, okay? Every time you have transported, you must create a new change project. It is something you just need to click, nothing else to do. You create a change project, the system is creating this in the background. You must do your configuration as we did before. You change your organizational structure, you define your ATP scope, you create your cycle counting indicators, you do what you want to do, and be weekly or once a week or when you want, you decide to transport your configuration to the productive system. And to do this, again, you select everything. You say, okay, I confirm the items and then proceed to run phase. And this means you declare that your solution is ready for productive usage, etc. So you transfer to the productive system and start again. All right. Okay. can we have 2 change projects at any time in a queue system, and how to find the active change? No, you have only one active change project. Okay, you work in one change project. A change project is closed once it has been transported to the productive system, and then you come back to your quality system again and create a new one. Okay, you cannot have 2 in parallel. Is it okay, Narayana? Sorry, what do you mean? Do you have another question before? Oh yeah, sorry. No, my second query. Do you mean it is your second question and I have overseen one of you? There is a question before coming from Prasad. Is there a place all our app to see what are the current configuration changes made and that are yet to be released to production? Not really. Of course, in the background, you have this information, but let me think about the idea behind your question. You would like to see what has been done and to have a review before transporting, right? This is probably what you mean. Yeah. I'm not sure that you can have this using the Manage Your Solution app. I have to check this. So I will have the time to do this during the break, but this is not really the idea of this. You configure and you send. You configure and you send. You configure, you test, of course, and you send. So, but I understand your point. You would like to review before transporting. I will have to check. Otherwise, we will have to. Yeah, exactly. I will have to come back to you with this. I have to find the active change project and what changes. Exactly. You have quite the same question, Narayana, if I understand your second query, how to find the active change project and what changes consists of. You have always one active change project, and the question that is remaining is if you want to review the changes, how to find this out. Again, this is not the idea as you had before in ECC, but I understand your point and I will try to find a way. Yeah, because there could be changes made by multiple people. So what to review before releasing to production. I know your point. I understand your point. Yeah. I understand your point. Okay. Before we move on to the central business configuration, I would like to come back to our plant. Okay. This is the plant we have created before. And I would like to see whether it is now activated or not. For the, I will go to the plant itself and go back because I would like to start from the structure. Okay, we are now okay. So next steps in my configuration in there, I would like to rename the plant. And I would like to continue with the organization structure. Okay. I have created a plant and I would like to assign it to a purchasing organization and maybe create a storage location for this. Okay. So what can I do? First of all, if I want to assign this new plant to my purchasing organization, I click on the corresponding plant here. I click on my new plant, or I can do this from there. I click on my new plant. I am redirected into the organizational unit itself, the plant. Okay. And here I can add a unit or a relationship. Add a relationship will be add, for example, the relationship to the purchasing organization. Okay. And add a unit would mean or will mean that I add a child unit, which will be a storage location. Okay, but here again, the systems take some time to create this relationship, and this is exactly the same principle as we had before. The activation is in progress, and it takes some time. Okay. We wait for the system activating our changes. And in the meantime, I would like to introduce the central business configuration, because this is something that is now being introduced with all new provisioning of SAP S4HANA Cloud. Instead of working directly in your S4HANA Cloud system for configuration using your Manage Your Solution app, you will have a new system in between called Central Business Configuration. And this is what is the idea behind this. You have many customers having many cloud installations and products in place. So I would say there is a need to manage and configure these installations centrally. And this is the idea behind central business configuration, to, from a central point, configure the different cloud installations at once, okay? Because you have the same master data, you have the same organizational structure, you may have also the same business processes. So it makes sense to make this configuration once and centrally. That's the idea behind this. For the moment, central business configuration is not implemented for other cloud installations than SAP S4HANA Cloud, okay? This is the first application for central business configuration for SAP S4HANA Cloud, and it is rolled out for the moment. It is delivered together with SAP S4HANA Cloud. I think during next year we will also need, because we will have more customers having central business configuration, so we will need to update also our systems, and in one of the next sessions we will work with central business configuration. But for the moment we have my configuration app. Okay, this is a question of some releases. So how does this look like? It doesn't change so much. You see here again the implementation phases: discover, prepare, explore, realize, deploy, etc. Remember the trial system in the discovery phase and the starter phase, mainly for the explore phase, for the fit to standard workshop and so on. It is remaining. It is remaining as it is. Okay, but what you will have then is the central business configuration for your real configuration. This will be the system that you will request first and get first. Okay, so instead of using the Manage Your Solution application to configure your SSCUIs, you will use the CBC, Central Business Configuration User Interface. The idea of SSCUIs will remain. You will find in a lot of cases exactly the same UI. Some differences, and especially for especially for the organization structure, you will have something that looks like this in the central business configuration. You will see something like this, your organizational structure in this kind of chart, and you will be able to move, to create, to add, so in a much more user-friendly way. This is the main change from a UI perspective. Okay, so the main changes will be, you will not use the Manage Your Solution app, and you will have the configuration in this system, and then you will have the initial deployment of the scope and the initial configuration made in the CBC, transported to the system, and then on the same way as described before in the productive system. Okay, and then you will have, let's say, an instance not in between, but before. Okay, this is the main change. Before we go to the break, I would like to come back to the system and see whether the activation is done. Okay, company code, the plant should be okay. Yeah, the relationship is created. As you see, we have the relationship to the purchasing organization. I would like to show you not how to add storage location, because it's quite easy. You go there, add unit, you have only the storage location as a choice, and based on an existing storage location, you create a new one for this plant. But it would take some time again, and I would skip this and go back to the different steps you have available to configure your structure. And I just would like to show you how to change the name of the plant. Again, in this step, you only create your organizational units and realize, yes, and make your assignments, your relationships. If you want to, I have to go back and back and back. If you want to change the name of the plant, for example, you have to go to, to one of the next steps we have in the configuration. This is the only thing that is slow. I don't know why. Because the activation was okay. Let's forget about it. I will search for, or I will prepare this in the break so we do not lose time. Let me have a look at the chat. Do you use Solution Manager or Focus Build in this as well for transports? You have the Solution Manager is still available, but the Solution Manager is more, let's say, intended for on-prem systems. You can use, of course, to manage your implementation in general. You can use the cloud ALM. ALM lifecycle management, application lifecycle management, yeah, cloud ALM. It is not completely replacing the Solution Manager, but I would not see the Solution Manager for SAP S4HANA Cloud. All right, Kevin? So here we are, before we go into the break. Okay, you're welcome. Before we go into the break, let's have a look. We had the organizational structure when we created the units and the relationships. And if we have to configure a little bit more, for example, the address of the plant, the name of the plant, we have to scroll down to the single items corresponding to the units. Here we have the plant. We go to configure and have the chance to change, for example, the name of the plant. Here we click on it, we go to edit, and we say plant 3. Okay, we can save, we can change the address, and so on. Okay, just a look and feel. All right. Sorry. The next topic will be extension and migration after a 5 minutes break. We have, what do we have? 3:08 in the afternoon in Germany. 5 minutes later, we will meet again and move on with the next topics. Have a good break, cup of coffee, cup of fresh air, glass water, whatever you want, and we see you in 5 minutes. Okay? Okay, we are back, I think. Yeah, 5 minutes are over, even a little bit more. In the meantime, let me check, I'm unmuted, yeah. Okay, welcome back to our second part of this live session, of today's live session. And the last part of this week, you had the question, how and when can we access the presentation? I have sent you the link where you will be able to find the presentation, but now, not immediately after the session. I will have to provide the presentation to our back office, and our back office is located in the US. So I think it will be a little bit later this afternoon that you will access the latest slides. For the moment, you will find slides that are not the latest one. So wait for some hours, and you will have access to the slides using this link, or you can also use the learning room. Go to the learning room. You're welcome. Okay, so last topic, or one of the last topics, extensibility. Again, this is intended to be a look and feel. By the way, I hope I could answer part of your question. Let me go back here. Concerning the changes, I will have to come back to you individually, or let me find the question. To change project. Okay, that's not possible, but you wanted to review, exactly, to review the current changes, okay? The changes that are currently in the so-called change project, just to view them. Are you all interested in this answer? I guess yes, but I'm just asking. If not, I will answer directly to Prasad. Otherwise, I will send an email to all of you. I think you are all interested in this, right? To know how to find out, or to know if there is a possibility to see all the changes in a current project. And there was another question also. Transport request. I think, Narayana, I have answered for the configuration. I have answered your question. Okay, we have no transport requests as we used to have in ECC, or as we continue having in S4HANA on-prem, but we have these change projects, right? And this is a little bit different for extensibility. We will come to this, but I think I have answered the question, right? Okay, fine. Thank you. Next topic, extensibility. And again, we will be quite quick. Please refer to the S4C01 course for more details, but I would like to talk a little bit with you and to have a demo, because I think it's important for you to have seen that, how which possibilities, new possibilities we have in SAP S4HANA Cloud. What is extensibility? Extensibility is simply starting from a common base and be able to extend the processes or the feature set without moving away from the common base. No? This is extension. We have different, we have in-app and side-by-side extensions via the SAP Business Technology Platform. And to explain that a little bit, I don't know whether it will be clearer or not, but let's start with the app extensibility. In app extensibility, this is what we can do within SAP S4HANA Cloud if you want. And this would be in our picture here. This would be, for example, folding down the back seats. Okay, this would be in-app extensibility. You are within your car and you have the possibility, without modifying or changing anything, you have the possibility to have a little bit more room by folding down the back seats. Okay. Then we have the side-by-side extensibility. The side-by-side extensibility is all you can do on the trailer. It is represented here in the picture as a trailer. Side-by-side extensibility is all you can do using the business technology platform. Okay. Side by side, what is it? What can you do? You can do everything you want. You can build a new UI. You can integrate with other SAP or non-SAP applications. You can build new applications. Okay. And this is the business technology platform is where you can extend and free extend and integrate your system, and you have a lot of possibilities there. And since we are concentrating today on SAP S4HANA Cloud, I will not talk about side-by-side extensibility. You have again a live session, SAP S4HANA onboarding fundamentals, where you talk about side-by-side extensibility, and I will get you links how to know and to learn more on this. So we will concentrate here on in-app extensibility. And what I would like to say, important classic extensibility here in our picture, it is install a roof luggage rack, for example. And this is not available in SAP S4HANA Cloud. What we mean with classic extensibility, this is the possibility to have access to the ABAP workbench, SE80 transaction, for example, in the backend system to modify the backend system. And this is not possible in SAP S4HANA Cloud. Okay, this is mentioned again here in the next slide. Okay, we concentrate here in the in-app key extensibility or in-app extensibility, but you can do a lot. I would say you can create fields, you can modify a little bit the system logic, you can create forms, and you have safe listed APIs that you can use for extending the system, and everything can be found in the different ways to find out whether an app can be extended or not. You have the Fiori app library, or you have also the app describes in the help portal. Okay, so two sources where you can find out and how an app can be extended or not. And again, the classic extensibility is not supported for SAP S4HANA Cloud. Side-by-side extensibility in the business technology platform. Very important, and you can integrate this into your SAP S4HANA Cloud system, the so-called SAP Extensibility Explorer, where you get an overview of all extension options for in-app or side-by-side possibilities in SAP S4HANA Cloud. Okay, so I have put here the link, and again, there is also the possibility to integrate this link into your HANA Cloud system. I will show this in a minute. Again, for you, what can you do in-app? Adapt UI, create a new field and put it in the UI, create a query, create own logic. So you have quite a lot of possibilities. And now, before we explain slides that explain the system, we will directly go into the system, and I will show you some options directly in the system. We have different apps here. The extensibility cockpit application, where you can get or you can explore all the options for extensibility. And once you have made some extensions, you can monitor them using the extensibility inventory app. Okay, maybe we will have time to show this in the system. As I mentioned before, you have, and this is an interesting option, you can link the Extensibility Explorer to your SAP S4HANA Cloud Quality System. It's quite easy to do. You go into the Extensibility Explorer, you log on, you call your preferences, and then you enter your SAP S4HANA Cloud URL, and you will have your SAP Extensibility Explorer as a tile in your SAP S4HANA Cloud system. And that's nice to have because you then do not need to jump to get information important in the explore phase. Okay, and now let's move into the system because I would like to show, oh, sorry, here we are. Okay, so that's where we were. We have configured our organization structure. And now I would like to extend. We have, sorry, let's move there. I try to refresh and to speed up a little bit the system. Okay, so extensibility, and then we will have the migration as the last topic. How can we extend or enhance our user experience? Let's take an example before we have a look here at the different apps I have mentioned here. Remember what we did this week. This week we worked, for example, on purchase orders. We have here this app, Manage Purchase Orders, as an example that we used for creating a purchase order. And imagine now I am responsible for some purchase orders, and I would like to have an overview about different information in the purchase order. Let me take one of the purchase orders we have created this week. This one, for example, here. The 41, it was a subcontracting purchase order. Let me click on this. I will have access to the purchase order itself. And as a purchaser or MRP controller, I have a look at the details. What does a purchase order contain? In the general information, for example, I have a basic data, purchase order type, standard PO, currency, etc. What I would like to have, this is just an example for the purpose of the demo. What I would like to have here is a way how to classify my purchase orders according to a priority, just an ID. And let's have a look whether we have a field we could add here on this screen, on this UI, just for me to maintain and to see a priority. Let's have a look. We go into my user profile here and click on it. And depending on my roles assigned to my user, I have or not the possibility to adapt the UI, to adapt the layout, if you want, of this screen, of this app, if you want, okay? This is depending on the administrator role. I need to have the administrator role to be able to adapt the UI. And this is what we call adapt UI in runtime. That means this is really, really helpful for key users or end users, or let's say key user, that's the better wording, because they know what they want and they know what is missing, and they can be authorized to make direct changes in the applications, in the transactions, if you want, they use day by day. So let me show you how it works. Adapt UI, I click on this, and you will say the layout or the way this screen appears will change. And we will have the possibility to make some amendments. So let's wait a little bit. Please wait. Yes, we do. We do wait, and you see it is changing a little bit. We are in the UI adaptation mode. What does this mean? Let me show you. I'm just moving the mouse here around, just moving the mouse. And as you say, or as you see, sorry, my screen is divided into different groups. We are here in the currency group. If I move a little bit around, there is a bigger group, including all the basic data. We have a group here for the purchasing group and the content of it, and here a bigger one for all the organizational units and so on. I'm just moving around my mouse, doing nothing else. Let's stop here on basic data. And now I'm clicking right, okay? Just clicking right the mouse, and I get these options proposed here. Rename, I could rename the group, okay? General information, for example. I could add a field, create a new group, or remove it, okay? So this is a great way how to play around with the UI. So let's have a look here. Add a field. I take just an example for our look and feel. Add a field. Let me check whether I can find something that would be interesting for me to have a kind of information about the priority of this PO. I would like to have priority a priority sequence in my PO. Let's have a look here. I do not find anything interesting, so that's not very good. But I see here I have a field called comment. Well, that could be interesting. I could have this in place. I click comment. Okay. And the system is adding the field comment here in my basic data. Okay. This is, by the way, a field I have created before. This is a user field. And that's it. So here I have two possibilities. Either I save or I save and exit, but this will be only for a local purpose. So it will make sense maybe in my starter system, in the quality system, I should publish, okay? Because with publishing, how can I explain this? I create a kind of transport, if you want, okay? With publishing, I make my change available for subsequent transport, and using an app called Export Software Collection, I will be able to transport my change into the productive system. Okay, that's why I should publish before and then save. Publication successful. Your changes are now ready to be exported in the software collection and then transported to the productive system. Then I save and exit. Doing this, I will change the layout, the UI of the standard application. I have another option here. I could save as a variant. Save as, for example, PO or manage PO for a live session. Okay, with a subtitle, a description, or whatever, and I will have a new tile for this. Okay, this is the two options I have. Because we have not so much time, I will just save the current app here, because otherwise I would need to search for my new tile and have to remember it. So that's it. We have our comment from now. Let's see whether I can edit right now or if I need to refresh my browser first. Let's try to edit. System needs, of course, little time to store my changes, so maybe I will have to refresh. But no, I do not need. So you see here, I could enter a comment and save my PO, and that's it. Now, I'm not very happy with this only field, because indeed in this comment I could put the reason why I have set a purchase order as a prior 1 or 2 or 3, but I have no prior field, and I will create one. So I'm going there again, adapt UI, Adapt UI, go back to my basic data, just moving the mouse, takes some minutes, sorry. Yeah, UI adaptation. So I'm moving around, selecting the basic data, right click on the mouse, add field. I'm not very happy because I have no prior field in there. I have the possibility to create a new one, create a custom field. Let's do this. I will do this, and I am redirected into the app custom fields and logic. Okay, so you see here, this is the field I have created prior to this session to have already one available because it takes time to have a field published and available. And I will create a new one. A new one I will call priority. And the advantage of working from or in runtime, starting from the application I would like to change, is that the system is filling out the business context automatically, okay, for the activation of my field. That's interesting. So I will call my field prio. The system creates in the background the identifier, so the field name for this field. And then I will have to decide which kind of field do I want to have. I would like to have a code list. You see, we have different options here: amount with currency, date, or a text, as we had for the comment. And now I would like to have a code list. So what does this mean? I would like to have a prio. So I will create the first option, which will be prio 1. The second option, which will be prio 2 and 3, and that's enough. 3 categories: prio 1, prio 2, and prio 3. Okay. And here again, create and publish to have it available for creating a collection that will be then exported to the productive system. So we need a little bit patience now because it is in publishing mode. In the meantime, I will go back to my purchase order. And first of all, because I have the required field, sorry, not available for the moment, I will simply save and exit for the moment. I have nothing to publish and nothing to do. I will just wait for the field being published, and then I will enter, or I will add this field to my UI. So we will wait a little bit for this publishing. All right. So I think this is something really new. I hope this is, or I think this is very something new to you. And I think also that's quite important to know this because it is really great for key users. Okay, this is a really great option for key users, and this is also a little bit the intention of in-app extensibility to be an option for not a specialist, not someone who is capable to program something, such just someone who has idea of the business and who would just like to do this on an easy way. Okay, let me present you the other apps very quickly. Refresh the cache, maybe it will be a bit quicker. Okay, so you remember the extensibility cockpit. This is the link I have included in the presentation, and this is this link that you can add to your Launchpad to have it. No, sorry. Sorry, I made a mistake. The Explorer, not the cockpit, the Explorer. This is what is explained in the presentation, what you can include and link to your SAP S/4HANA cloud system. And again, it's quite interesting to have. You have all you need to know, or you have a lot of information about the options for in-app extensibility and side-by-side extensibility. Very recommended. On the cockpit, you can also search for possible extensions. You have the possibility to search using objects, of course, but the solution scope. Okay. So, for example, supply chain and even the scope item. Okay, could be interesting. Let's take, I don't know, physical inventory, cycle counting, and let's go. And the system will list the different so-called business contexts you will be able to enhance. Okay, so this may be interesting also to search for options. And once you have extensions in your system, you can use the extensibility inventory to check what you have done. You can, of course, also, instead of doing as I did for you, from the application, you can also call the custom logic application or the custom fields application to create a field. But again, the big advantage of working in runtime is that you exactly know for what you want to add a field or for what you want to make something. Okay, so prior is still publishing, so we will wait a little bit. And in this time, I will continue. In this slide, you have all the steps you need to know to add a Fiori UI at runtime, what we did before. Okay. Prerequisites, you need the role of an administrator. You open the application you want to customize. Okay. In the help portal, for example, or in the Fiori application library, you can check whether extensibility is supported for your application. You choose Adapt UI and you do what you've seen in real time in the system before. This is an introduction to the custom field apps and so on. And that's it. Some more information for you. We have the so-called software development kit, and we have the link here in the slide. This is also for your own study. If you would like to learn a little bit more about end-to-end capabilities, tools, processes, this is more for developers, of course, and this is especially adapted for customers when you need to have side-by-side extensions. All right. Before we go to the migration, last check here whether we are ready to. It is published. Okay, so fine. Let's me go to the purchase orders again. This is my app, Manage Purchase Orders. I will take the purchase order we have created already this week. This one here, or I don't remember. I think it was this one. Let's take it. So again, I'm going to my user, Adapt UI, and I will choose my new field. Hopefully it is already available without refreshing. We wait very patiently. We go to the basic data, right key. Yes, okay, change on the server. We recommend to reload. Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. System is reloading. Page. And we need, of course, a little bit patience, but we have it. And manage purchase orders. Good to see. We will see in a minute our purchase order. Here we are, not yet. Please wait. Okay. We wait. Preparation is in there, I see. In the meantime, I'm having a look at the chat. No question. Do you like this extensibility in runtime? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I like it too. I refresh again. Sorry. So. Is it possible to remove a field if there is already data added to it? Yes, it is possible. It will not cause no. Very important question, because you do not change anything in the background. Okay, the database is not affected by these kind of changes on the UI. That means if you decide not to see a field, to remove a field from the UI, it will be removed. You will not see it, but it will still exist. Okay. And here, it takes really too much time. And here, when I add a field, I do not change anything in the database. Okay, not at all. This is only on the UI. I can make queries on this. I can analyze this field, but there is no change in the database. So I try my last chance here, manage purchase orders. Otherwise, we have to move on and to come back maybe later. I'll say yes, now. Go. Let's select all the purchase orders we have. Let's move to the one we had before, this one, 41. Let's go in there. And I hope that we will see our purchase order in a few seconds. If not, I still have the time, but I would have to have 5 minutes with you to discuss a little bit before we close. So let's go to the migration. Few words about migration that, in my eyes, are quite important. The migration is part of the realize phase, of course. And for this, we have the so-called migration cockpit. Migration cockpit is an application, quite powerful application. It is part of SAP S4HANA, SAP S4HANA Cloud. It is included in the license, and it is supporting migration. Okay, it is a guided migration if you want, and this is the only thing I would like to introduce to you to show you how it works. It is really powerful. It is interesting. It is here the migrate your data migration cockpit. We will work in the system in a minute. I have here some slides for you, and you will see that I have the steps here for you. And this is a guided migration, because once you have created a migration project being simply the decision what object you would like to migrate, then you are directed here. You have the steps mentioned into the action columns, and you can do step by step what is necessary for your migration. Let me explain this before we go back to the system. You first create a migration project. You add so-called migration objects to the project. You have then migration templates available to download. These migration templates are prepared XML, if you want, spreadsheets where you have the structure of your object already prepared with all fields, all the structure for a material. For example, you have all the views for the different organization level. You have all the fields available. So you download these sheets, you upload the data to staging tables using these template files. And of course, extracting the data is something the customer is responsible for. Absolutely, but the rest is guided. Then you validate, you prepare the tables, you validate the data, you make a value mapping. value mapping is when you have to change the values that you have uploaded. No? For example, you must change the purchasing groups, for example, or the material groups, and then you can simulate a migration and then migrate in real, create a correction file, and start from the beginning. Okay, so this is a guided migration, and it is really interesting. We will go into the system, and I will introduce this migration cockpit. But for your information, I have put some resources for you, migration resources. This is the SAP S4HANA Cloud Customer Community, interesting for a lot of topics, but especially for data migration. We have, of course, specific migration topics for in the roadmap viewer. Okay, so roadmap viewer is also interesting, and we have in the help portal a lot of information concerning migration. Okay, I have put some notes here. Maybe you can refer to them. Informative notes, so also for your own study. Let me go back to the system. And we still have two things to do before we go to the migration cockpit. Here we are in our purchase order. You remember before we wanted to have two fields here. We have created one additional field, and I would like to have this field now in there. Going to my user adapt UI. I think now the field will be available. So I'm going to the adapt UI adaptation mode. It should appear. Yes, here we are. So I'm going to the basic data again, right click, add field, and let's search for my prior. Here is it, prior field, the field I have created before. I say OK, and it is in there. I save and exit. And if I'm trying again without refreshing to edit this PO. And now with editing, I should see the values 1, 2, 3 that I have entered for this prior field. And yes, I will. I am very optimistic that this will happen in the next few seconds. Sorry for this slow system today, but it is related also to what we are doing. We are creating fields, and yeah. Okay, so we have our comment and we have the prior. So I can select here the 2, 3 options I have created before. I click on this and the prior 2, and here I could add a comment related to this prior. Okay, this is what we have done quite quickly. The system is a little bit slow, but the action was really quick to have this effect. Now let's move to the migration cockpit just to show you how it works. Here is it. Migrate your data, migration cockpit. We have already 4 active migration projects. The migration project is again the collection of objects you would like to migrate. I have created one before to have one here. I have created migration projects for my material, and I will do that once again to show you. And we will use the first one while the new one is being created in the background. We'll see. So I will create a new one, a new project, create. I click on create. I have general data, again, the migration approach, the migrate data using staging tables. This is what the migration cockpit will create, staging tables for the migration objects and migrate them from these tables. We will name our project product. This will be the name This will be the ID of the project. We could name this differently. Then these tables can be located locally or remotely. That means on the SAP Business Technology platform. And when I press enter, the step 2 is appearing. I click on step 2, and then I have all the available migration objects. Okay, so I will take, I had yesterday or the day before the question concerning the bills of material. The bills of material must be in there somewhere. We have the products here. This is what we would like to migrate. So I select the object, put it in there, and let me search for the bills of material. They are here, I know, but where? Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to find everything. Here we are, material BOM, material bills of material here. Let's put them also in our project. Okay. So my migration project objects have been moved. Review means the system will check in the background whether we have dependent objects for this for these objects to migrate, because maybe we have relationships that would prevent to have a smooth migration. So predecessor objects exist for this selection. Do you want to add them? Yes, I want, because I have not migrated them before. So I would like to add them into my project. I could, of course, choose not to add them if I have migrated them before. Okay, so I create the project, and in the background, the system, you will see here, this will update. The system will create the activities that are necessary for my new project. So I say go, and this will, you see running activities 1, and it will update here. So as long as we have running activities, we cannot use our project. That's why I created one before, materials, just to show you how it looks like in real life. I click on my project and I see the objects I have here, the profit center, the product, and the supplier. And you see here in the action column, all things I could now do. I could download the template. Okay, remember this Excel sheets or these files with the different sheets for the different views for the material. Then upload the data using the staging tables. Okay, or to the staging table, sorry. Validate, prepare the table, do mapping tasks if available, simulate the migration, migrate, and so on. And you see here, I have already done this upload work, down and upload, I have already uploaded the template, and now I could upload the files. And once I'm done with this, the next activities would be available to select. Okay, so this is a guided migration, absolutely user-friendly. Okay. That's it for today. And here at the end of the slide deck, you have a link. And this is the most important link for you if you want to continue and to get certified. This is the link to the learning journey to SAP S4HANA Cloud Supply Chain. And before we stop this session, I would like, first of all, to thank you for your interest. Yes, I will provide exactly this presentation. And the link is here in the chat. This is the link for the presentation. I have put this during the break. This is the link. Sorry. Oh, you cannot see the chat. Here, this is the link for the presentation. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If you have, okay, I would like to thank you first of all, and for all of you who need to go to the next call or whatever you need. Thank you again. It was a pleasure. You had great questions. I love this live session. They are all different every time. And you are welcome to attend one of the next live sessions. And if you have time, I would like to, I have a very simple question. Do you think the program of the week was okay from a content perspective, well balanced, or would you prefer to have more deep dive, or did I give too much general information? This is something I need to know from you, because I know we have live sessions about this extensibility, this RISE, and so on. But I'm not sure whether you have this knowledge. That's why I repeat or I include this general information in my live sessions. But I would very much appreciate your feedback to make my mind, because I'm absolutely free